This question is, as a student and the experience you've had with gender courses, can you just describe it a little bit for me?
Okay. Well, I first was introduced to gender when I started university in 2011, and I took the first course that was Introduction to Women's Studies. And from coming into the course, it completely changed my life. It completely changed the perspective that I saw the world with. I started seeing social inequalities and inequities everywhere that I went. And this is something that I didn't understand before. I thought, I would be coming in and I'd be studying feminism, and people have this false notion that it's sort of anti-male if it's pro-female. And that's exactly the opposite of what I got. It's pro-female, but it's more so pro-human, right? Promoting human equality and human dignity. So overall, I've had a very positive experience with gender courses. I enjoy them thoroughly. I feel that they are some of the most applicable courses to the real world that we live in right now.
Yes. By example, you have shown that as a young man, as well as an undergraduate student, you can be involved with public engagement. I would like to hear your comments on youth activism, but activism in general from a gendered perspective.
Okay, well, youth activism is something I'm particularly passionate about as of recently as well, because as we see through the work of the United Nations and through the uprising of youth worldwide, youth participation is something that's very necessary for a developmental agenda, right? And activism on the whole is something that we find historically around the Caribbean, but really recently I think it's been a bit more lacking when it comes from the youth perspective. Youth are a little bit more passive, and it's a culture that we need to change in order to get any real change to create the future that we want with activism.
No, that's excellent, because a part of Support for Change, a group that helped grow out of the gender program here at St. Augustine. Can you just give us some of your views on the gender policy that you found very necessary and you helped lead that public discussion as well?
Okay. So yeah, as you said, Support for Change grew out of the university, right? It grew out of the IGDS. My students came together to rally and support a national gender policy because we saw it as a necessary tool, a necessary framework tool to create new legislation and new programs and stuff that would actually impact the country and create more gender equality.
Last, you also wrote Peace in the UE today, if my memory serves me correct. And how would you encourage, as a student, undergraduate student yourself, to get increased student participation or to explain to them the value of doing gender studies?
Okay. Well, I love universities, right? Universities are one of the most open, growing environments that you'll ever encounter, to me at least. And to me as well, gender studies is one of those areas that hasn't fully been explored. It's relatively new on an academic spectrum, although it's been around for centuries. It's been discussed, but it hasn't been focused on. And I think that is one of those areas that has a lot of work to be done, that students can become actively involved in. You hear students say all the time when they come into university, through their studies and everything, they want to do something that makes a difference. They want to do something that changes the world, but they don't know how. And I think through gender studies, through the courses, you get that framework, you get that background that teaches you where human inequality and where human inequity lies, how to help make people stop being dehumanized as well in society. And I think that gender studies courses, particularly, and gender studies on the whole, can help create that human resource that we need to drive this change.